Hola amigos y amigas, bienvenidos al podcast del Offstage Acting. Hoy vas a conocer a Pepe Balderrama, un actor realmente talentoso. Él es de México, pero ¿es el mexicano? No sé. ¿Es el americano? No sé. ¿Es el inglés? Yo no sé. Él es realmente una combinación de los tres. Él es un gran chico, un entrevistado muy interesante y un amigo superior. Okay, folks, that's it. I won't butcher that language anymore. That was my version of Mexican Spanish. You'll have to forgive me. But today you're going to meet the great Pepe Balderrama. Originally from Mexico, but is he Mexican? Is he American? Is he English? It's hard to tell. He's truly a combination of all three. You're going to find out more about that in the podcast. He's a great guy. He's a great interview, very interesting, and he's a great friend. And fun fact about Pepe is he likes his margaritas traditional. None of this blended with fruity flavors and all the fancy. Nope, just chilled, salt on the rim, slice of lime, perfecto. So if you ever meet the man and you want to buy him a margarita, just remember, traditional. Enjoy Pepe Balderrama. Where? Here. ¿Dónde está el mejor podcast sobre actores del mundo? Está aquí. Está ahora, güey. Jay, you're with me.
I'm with you, bud.
Offstage Acting Podcast. Welcome back again.
Woot!
We're so thrilled to have you with us.
Welcome. One, welcome all.
We are
Thank you for coming. Another episode.
gonna have a great day today. A great good time on the Offstage Acting Podcast, your everything acting podcast.
Oh, yes.
How are you, my friend? First of all, we're gonna have to say Jay has internet problems. Internet.
Yes.
So we might
Internet.
have to keep it. And then, Chop, are you? Can I go?
Is that you? Anyway, so, yeah. Internet problems. I guess the rain just causes Wi-Fi to not work. I guess Wi-Fi is the wicked witch of the West.
Yeah. Everything you would think for a
And
country
the
that
rain
experiences so
is
much
Dorothy.
rain that right, the rain is I don't know if that analogy works. Have you ever seen the movie
Oh well,
Wizard of Oz?
I'm here.
Doesn't really work.
I'm hotspotting.
And he's completely
Hotspotting.
Delayed.
If other people, this is a great pro tip. Hotspot. Oh.
hotspot. If you can't, this is gonna be a tragedy. An infernal tragedy.
Oh God.
I was saying that if you would think that a country that experiences so much rain would be prepared for a tiny droplet and not have to just completely, everything collapses as soon as there's any weather here, and there's always weather here. A flake of snow falls in England, and the trains come to a grinding halt. Nobody can
Yes.
go. I literally was at a restaurant last year. This is just for fun, and it snowed ever so briefly. Like it started just dropping a bit of snow, and the people in the restaurant started to panic, and they started to go, "How are we going to get home?" It was Snowmageddon. Anyway,
For one flake, yeah.
one snowflake. Okay, I see I'm going to have to do most of the talking because Jay is just completely...
Yeah, I think so.
That's fine because we won't...
I'll have quips.
Yeah, there'll be quips and they'll come in late, so the timing will be all off because there's a delay.
I'll try to foresee the quips.
Yeah, predicative
Haha.
quips. There. I wasn't making a joke yet. I'll give you a signal. What I'll do is raise my finger when I'm about to give a joke, and then there it is. Isn't that funny?
Wow. Oh dear.
So I had a casting today. I got it late last night.
Ooh.
I had to run into London this morning. I literally, now this is crazy, just to give actors an idea of what an acting lifestyle is. Jump on a train, run into London. So it's a 30-minute, 60-mile trip for me. takes 30 minutes. I don't know how that works, actually. We go 120 miles an hour. No. I guess it's 30 miles, 30 minutes, whatever. I don't care about the miles. I care about the minutes. I jump out of this train. I walk a mile to the studio. I walk in, take my jacket. Hi, Todd. They're very friendly. Hi. I go in. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It's a commercial. I think I can say, shall I just say?
Yeah. At this point.
Idris Elba is supposed to come by and sign my cast. And then he walks away, but he doesn't do it with permission. He just does it. And it's a commercial for AI or something. Anyway, I don't think anybody cares if I give them extra publicity. That's what the point of the commercial is. But and then I'm supposed to look at my doctor and go, who the hell is Idris Elba? Or who was that? I did it twice. Took me less than 5 minutes. Back out on the streets, walk a mile, back to the train station, jump on the train, and come back. It's a 3-hour round trip for less than 5 minutes. Yeah. 2 shots. Thanks, Todd. That was great. I was all stoked because I thought, oh, this is an in-person casting. Usually,
and you love those.
Yeah. I thought maybe the director will be there and, maybe I'll even have a chance at booking this. And no director. Casting agent was there, but her assistant was running the thing. Anyway, life of an actor. That was my morning.
Life of an actor.
Yeah. I think podcasting's better. I'd rather be a podcaster. Speaking of actor's life, now I want to talk to you about our guest today.
Yes, want to hear about the guest.
Thank you. I'm juicy. For this guy.
Okay.
You might have worked with him before. I've worked with him a few times. We're not friends. I'll just say that out loud. And by no measure. No, we became friends through work. So up until now, we've really interviewed a lot, mostly friends, but or people I've worked with, obviously, like old close friends I've known for years and years. So I haven't known Mr. Balderrama for very long, but I tell you what, I could tell right. You know how you can tell right away when a guy's got talent or a lady?
Oh, this is this guy.
Yeah, the guy that's coming on. He, boom, in your face.
Yep.
And we just ADR and stuff, voices and stuff. It's just and you kind of have that where you go, oh, I hate this guy. And the only reason you hate him is because
I love that you're just saying it.
Yeah, but that's what actors like. I know we're all warm and fuzzy on the outside. Oh, great, break a leg, good job, wow, good for you. Oh, you did this, that, and the other thing, awesome. And then internally, you're just dying, you're seething because you go, oh, this guy's he's got so much more talent than I do. Why?
You sure that's not just you, Hot Toddy?
Oh, I think it's everybody. We can ask him. I think it's everybody.
Maybe a little bit me. Maybe a little bit.
Of course. You just ooh. But it's a different kind of talent. You have your strengths. I have mine. We don't really overlap in a lot of ways, and that's fair. And he and I obviously don't. He's Mexicano for one, and a mixed bag of other things. So we don't go up for the same parts, as it were. And I'm taller than him, so that's a bonus on my side. He is very handsome, though. That's another thing that annoys me. But he's short, so makes up for things. But I was fascinated by his...
Just be let's examine all...
Oh, we missed all that. Say it again?
Oh, great. It's the moment is gone. We keep moving forward.
We're gonna move on. Yeah, we never go back. Anyway, and as I do, so I approached him. I talked to him. I get to know him. I wanted to be friends with him, but I could see he was inviting his other buddies out for beers and hanging out with other guys he was friends with, and I was like, why doesn't he? Maybe if I invite him on my podcast, he'll be my friend. And it's worked so far. But I don't do a lot of research. I just know that a guy or a gal, a person, an actor has talent. I can see it and I can tell. I don't even know how much they work. I just see that, okay, they must work a ton. They got a bunch of talent. And I just want to hear their story, especially if you are And we're going to find out a little bit more. But, you know, if you were born in Mexico and you lived in America and now you live in London and you do all kinds of accents and you play all different characters and you've got this kind of backstory as well. That's what we like to hear around here, don't we? Offstage acting.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
He seems really cool too.
So then I got hold of like his showreel, which we're going to watch right now. And
awesome.
You're going to see just how like incredibly talented he is and the kind of work he does. So here we go. This is Pepe, Jose, Joseph, Balderrama. I don't know, he's got a few names.
She's like the casino itself. Beautiful to look at, fabulously dressed, and always ready to take your money. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Miss Claudine Pascal.
I thought
I love that.
Probably should tell you. He's my boyfriend. And actually, he's bisexual.
Gay or
That's not
bisexual. Nick is banned from
That's Pepe.
sleepovers from now on.
What?
Yeah, there will be no hanky-panky in this house.
Please don't say hanky-panky.
Bedroom door open at all times.
I'm leaving.
No hanky-panky till you're married.
Stop saying hanky-panky.
What?
No.
Ooh, the Batman. The Batman movie.
Sorry, Lieutenant. But we got blunt force trauma, lacerations on the head. He got hit a lot of times, and hard.
All this blood is from his head?
No. Excuse me. Most
great.
of it's from his hand.
No.
What are all these diaries?
Ledgers. He's got thousands. He scrawled all over, rambling ciphers.
Some kind of pry tool? Is it a chisel? It's a murder weapon.
You got everything you need. License plate scanners, X-ray,
Jack Ryan.
undercarriage cameras, cruisers and agents at every choke point. This is Jack Ryan. He's gonna be calling the shots.
Approaching standby.
On the scales. What do we got? Approach that carrier with extreme caution.
Tell your men to back off.
Patrol car 6, get out of there right now.
Patrol car 6, you hear me?
So,
Ancient.
they will be
ancient
upon us as soon as we cross the river.
Alexander the Great.
For the sake of the men, think what you are asking of them.
The same as I always ask.
Yes, but we have never faced numbers like this before. At least at night, we might surprise them.
I will not steal victory like that. Now come, take a look at the plan. You will hold the
What will ever be enough?
So much drama.
Perdoni, signor Farino.
What do you want?
I due signori
Hotel
sono
Portofino.
qui per vederla.
Mafia. Oh. Oh. He got cut. You don't like it.
It's all right, it's all right.
No, it's all right. Good.
You cut me again, you klutz, and it won't be me who's bleeding, you understand? Capiche?
Doesn't understand mean capiche? Or capiche mean understand?
Gentlemen, welcome to paradise. All right, show's over. Let's roll sound.
Stan and Ollie.
I
Great
said
movie.
roll sound. Speed. Roll camera. Ready, boys?
I love this movie.
Could you maybe continue this some other time? Unless you want to pay for an extra day, of course.
Go ahead, shoot. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're on a wide two-shot here, Stan, just like you wanted. And I'm gonna
What are you
pull
checking with
back.
that for?
Well,
You're the director. Direct.
I want access to my phone.
That's Pepe.
I don't think that's wise.
I may have been too confrontational in the past, but I refuse to stop telling the truth.
I have to
So
run.
many
I'm a
accents.
supervisor.
Thank you. There's a war going on between the forces of knowledge and the forces of ignorance in the world right now. Ignorance
is winning.
You see what I mean, Jay?
No! No!
Burn those suits! They smell like hell!
I can actually hear that smell!
Save me, Jesus! Actually, I've changed my...
Oh. Joseph Balderrama. You see what I'm saying? There he is, ladies and gentlemen.
That was
Pepe! Wasn't that exceptional? You see what I mean? Why it's like easy to dislike him? Welcome.
No, I don't. Actually, the opposite.
For his talent, not because he's a terrible human being. We'll find out if he's terrible now or not. Welcome. Are you terrible?
I am sometimes terrible, but I'd like to think not always.
You are awesome. Pepe, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. We've made some concessions for you today. We know.
Thank you for having me. You guys have bent over backwards the best possible way.
Is there a good way to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are a father and you've got kids. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 young boys.
Oh, boy. I bet that's hell in the house.
It's a challenge, Todd. It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. We like a challenge. And you do the school pickup. Are you are you like responsible for all the household stuff?
It's a good question. It depends on how my career is going. The less busy I am, the more hands-on I become at home. And my wife is amazing at supporting me when I am busy. So for example, today, she works in publishing. She designs books, and she has the London Book Fair, and so she is out, and so I am doing pickup, drop off, laundry, lunch. I've got to take them to a club, which is why I had to go on my hard out today was due to Let's Act, which is their drama club. So I thought that was you know,
they're going to be little actors as well.
God, I hope not. But it is really great for children.
It's good for school. Yeah, for kids. School
to do. I think it's a great thing for kids to do, just for confidence and everything else. And one of them is showing dangerous early signs of needing to be on the stage. But hopefully he will grow out of that.
How old are they?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because growing up, none of my family no one in my family had anything to do with theatre, acting, anything like that. And so growing up, I didn't really ever consider it as like, that's what I want to be. Growing up in Mexico, I had lots of things I wanted to be, but none of them were acting because I didn't have that as a role, an example of something that, oh yeah, I know people who do that. And they obviously do from when they were born. And so they like immediately have it as one of their top options of things to do. And they see that I don't know how they matriculate it, but, I think as far as they're concerned, I don't really do anything because they haven't seen anything I've done because most of it's age not appropriate or it's like the loop stuff we do that no one will ever know
anything about. Oh, how old are the boys?
They are 4 and 7.
Oh, okay, so they're still quite young. Yeah.
That's why I look like this, Todd.
I've got 2 little ones.
Have any more?
Mine just 8 and 12 now. My 2 daughters. Yeah. No. It's tough though. I always ask the actors with kids because it's tough balance. It's a tough balance.
Yeah, I remember when my eldest was born. I wasn't that busy at all then. And the first year of his life, coincidentally, really, I just happened not to be working very much at all. And I was kind of glad of it in a way because I first 2 years actually, got to spend, I was sort of doing the lion's share of the daytime childcare at least. And I was doing the whole nursery. I became actually really good friends with this, the only other dad at the nursery, because most of the mums would ignore you, obviously. And, going to pick them up and drop them off and so on. And there was this like big burly guy who was American and of course really friendly. And it turned out he was a New York fireman. And he was just on secondment in the UK for a year. His wife had like a big high flying job, and he'd taken a year off being a firefighter in New York. And we became pals, and our kids got on really well. And so we used to hang out at the bus park, as the kids call it. And we became kind of good pals.
That's cute.
So yeah, anyway, that was,
you always hook up with the other father. You're like, oh, you're a father. I remember, let's do anything, please, God, something. We can combine male companionship with also childcare. It's great.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're right. I used to go to these play groups because I did the exact same thing for like the first 4 years of my oldest. And the mothers would just be like, off from work today? Not at work today? They would look at you like you were, of course, you know, I'm in my pajamas and I don't care. But it was like, no, I work. Thank you. But
then when you tell them what you do, it's worse because they're like, oh,
they go,
you're here a lot though, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're not that busy.
Yeah. It's a tough grind, isn't it? Yeah. And you end up, you also end up doing, because you are single, you're the parent in the group that doesn't have the full-time job. You sort of end up like, why aren't the dishes done? You're like, well, I got stuff I do. Like you're expecting bedding today, for example, and that's your duty. You're on bedding duty.
Yeah, I mean, the reason when we had our sound check this earlier, the reason I needed 5 minutes was because I hadn't finished folding the laundry. So it's pretty sexy. The level of.
You mean the big shot that was in the Batman movie has to fold laundry and like do the dishes?
I just like to keep it real. I like to keep my hand in. You know.
Yeah. You're not too.
A break sometimes.
It's good at home, isn't it? Because it keeps you humble. Let's go back. I want to get to Pepe Balderrama. Now, you're born Jose, correcto?
Yeah.
Sí.
Correcto.
Gracias. Bien. And Pepe is a pseudonym for, or like a nickname in Spanish for Jose, but you go by Joseph here in England. Are you having an identity crisis?
I didn't have an identity crisis as such. I couldn't get arrested in the industry crisis. Yeah. In about 2010, 2009.
Living here in London, and you couldn't.
Yeah. So I'd got. Well,
nobody knew what you were.
I'll give you backstory to it. Basically, I'd gone to drama school. I'd come out of drama school, and you know, I asked my agent that I had signed with, do you think I should change my name at all to something more Anglo, etc.? She was like, no, of course not. Anyway, that turned out to be a huge mistake because I very much was only being considered, despite the fact that I'd been classically trained, and the fact that despite the fact that in fact that I did a lot of Shakespeare on stage, having left drama school, I was never really considered for any English roles. To this day, it's very, very few and far between the English roles that I get seen for, in fact. But anyway, long story short, cut to 8 years later or 9 years later, and I was like, you know, getting the odd thing here and there. I was working doing voiceover, but you know, I didn't feel that I was getting an opportunity to play any parts that were remotely interesting, because everything that I was being seen for was sort of, you know, guest star, but, you know, not guest star even, but sort of, you know, one scene here, there.
Yeah, featured.
Generic foreign person. Variety of foreign.
Generic foreign person.
Yeah, you can play a lot. Anything romantic. French, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, Mexican, Latin American. You can run that gamut. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so like a token foreign guy.
Yeah, but it was never sort of juicy foreign guy.
Yeah, right.
It was always like comedy waiter or things of that ilk. Yeah. And I was just like, I don't know. I went to university. I had a master's degree in history. I'd sort of, you know, I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life here? I maybe need to reassess whether this is really worth it. And anyway, I'm half American, and my mum's from Boston, from Massachusetts, and so my sister got married, and I ended up going to LA. She lived in LA, and I went and dog sat her dogs while she went on honeymoon. And I sort of just sent out, I sent out a bunch of like emails to agents just saying, I'm here. I'm a basically relatively unemployed, unknown English actor, except I'm not English at that point. I didn't even have the papers. And they were like, yeah, you sound really interesting. And I had like 3 meetings with people. And I was like, what?
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
How was that?
But you laid on the RP quite thick and heavy.
What was really interesting in the US, well, that's a whole other story, but like, just getting back to the Joseph, basically they said, just change your first name very straightforwardly. They were like, just anglicize it, because that's what all the Latino artists do. Jennifer Lopez, Michael Pena. I mean, there's like
of course,
a huge list of them. And they're like,
Jennifer,
why didn't you do that in the first place type thing? And anyway, then I did. And I was like, well, you know, I'm going to roll the dice because I'm basically out the door here. So I may as well just put it all on black, as it were. And unfortunately, it had an almost instant impact in the UK, virtually instant, to the point where who I won't name her because she was a very sweet, and she's passed away, so we mustn't speak ill of the dead. But she was a really big casting director, and in fact, she was really instrumental in giving me my first TV job. So she knew me really well, and she was a big advocate of mine at drama school in my final year. So she knew me. And I was in an audition for quite a big TV show to play an American part. That's also what happened. I suddenly started being seen for American roles.
British TV show.
Yeah. And quite a big one. And halfway through my audition, she stops me and she goes, Pepe? And I was like, oh God, I've really messed this up. What have I done? I was like, yes. What? They were like, she was like, I just... Joseph.
It was you.
And I was like, what? My last name's Balderrama, right?
Yeah.
And there's no one else
yeah.
in the UK, especially with that name. So I was like, it's not like I changed my name to like, you know, Jeff White. I like, anyway. But then, and I can sort of track my career,
was, though, to change.
Yeah, I can track my career shift in the UK, especially more or less to that point in time.
What was you said? What was the year that you did that, or the roughly?
About 2010.
So just 10 years ago, made the change. Okay, let's go the timeline because now I'm even confused. Born in Mexico City, La Ciudad de Mexico, in circa we won't give it all away, but in the and grew up there until what age?
Till I was 10.
10. Okay, so 1972.
No. We're not all your age.
Not that. Oh, wow. Ooh, the first shot across the bow. Another shot across the bow.
That was for calling me short.
That was for really not just calling him short, but like digging in on it. It's only because I'm so envious.
Good job. You tell him.
That's what you get for being talented.
Well,
you get anyway. Okay, so 10 years old, you moved, and your mom was full time like in Boston at that point, or she moved back?
No, we lived in Mexico from when I was born there, and we lived there until we left.
And your father's Mexican.
My father's Mexican, but my parents were divorced when I was very young, and we stayed in Mexico. And then my mom met. She used to teach. She was a teacher, and she taught at the English school in Mexico City. And she met a journalist, because it was the expat community, as it is everywhere. It was very small, and he was the Guardian and BBC correspondent in Mexico City, and then they got together at a St. Patrick's Day party, in fact. And and then we
don't know all the details of that, I hope.
No, thankfully.
So then you moved to England.
Yeah, they got married, and my mom had another baby with him, and I sort of suddenly landed here in the UK when I was actually about 9.5, not to quite 10, and it was 86 in fact, and we were suddenly in Brockley, South London.
Oh yeah,
I was like, whoa, this place is weird. I remember the first day that I arrived in the UK, and it was obviously very grey. It was December,
Yeah.
And I turned the TV on, and I was like, "Why is there only four? There's only four. Mom,
Yeah, Mom.
There's only
broken.
4 channels. What's going on?"
BBC
And
One, BBC Two.
Yeah, and then one of them that was snooker. I just remember it really clearly. It was snooker. And there was this guy called Tony Mio.
Oh yeah, that's famous snooker.
And I was like,
they're drinking and smoking and,
why
and just playing a full game of snooker.
This is so weird.
Which is a type of billiards, by the way, if anybody doesn't know. Like,
so
cool.
Anyway, it was just it was a big shift, big change. And I had a completely American accent when I arrived, like full on.
So you grew up speaking English and Spanish at home?
Yeah.
Like dual.
Well, my mum spoke to me in English and I only ever spoke to her in Spanish.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. And
but yes, I was bilingual from when I was little.
Right. Okay. And that's so I'm trying to get a handle on all your accents because you're quite.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why you picked it, have like an ear for accents then? Because
in English, definitely. Like when I speak in Spanish, you can tell immediately where I'm from. Weirdly, even though I haven't lived there since I was 9.5. But in English, sort of when I arrived, I was really very different to pretty much everyone else in Dulwich Village.
Yeah.
And the only sort of thing I had going for me was that I could talk to girls and I was good at football.
Mm-hmm.
And so that
Mexican,
gave me sort of
girls.
social in
and play football
into a very not very friendly place.
Yeah, very cliquey kind of, especially.
Yeah, and London wasn't.
No,
like
wasn't foreigners
like it is now. It's not. It wasn't the cosmopolitan sort of mecca of like diversity and like everyone's different and it's celebrated.
Yeah,
it was more like,
that's geezer laying in it. It's like
proper
Cockney.
Yeah. It was not.
You stood out like a little
little Mexican American
jumping bean.
Like really not. There was none of my people were there. That's for sure. And I guess consciously, maybe unconsciously, my accent became more anglicized through secondary school, particularly.
Just to fit in.
And yeah, basically, I think. And then I went to university and drama school, and maybe that. When I speak in English now, I think it still sounds a bit like, where exactly are you from? But more, I would say I sound like I'm in English.
Yeah, because we were at a session a few times, and you sauntered in, and I could see you were doing a bit of Mexican, a bit of mostly American, because I only get called in for the American sessions. So I was like, okay. And I'm always keen to kind of know, well, who's all the other American actors and stuff. But then at some point, we were sitting outside of another session, I think another time, but recently. And that's when I turned to you, and I heard you actually speaking just sort of in your natural English-speaking accent. And you have this accent, which is a bit more like, I don't know what, it's a bit posh, bit RP, bit posh. And I said, where the hell? What's your accent, Pepe? Pick one. Just pick one already.
Your name, what's your accent? I mean, I can't
who
tell
the
you
hell
how
are you?
much, on a breakdown when it says in your own accent, I dread that so much.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, fuck, which one? Sorry.
So does
which
it
one,
Yeah. Quack. Does it depend on who you talk to?
A little bit. Yeah, certainly I think if I've spent time in the US, it might become more Americanized. And then if I talk to some friends of mine from certain past histories here, then it might go a bit more like London. And yeah, it definitely does depend.
So what do you consider yourself?
Well, I have 3 passports.
Okay.
So
that's cool.
Lucky man.
One of them is worth something. You guess which
I could be a spy, but instead
You could have been a great spy, yeah.
I made bad
It might be
choices,
both. It might be
Todd.
both. I know. Not a lot of money. More money.
I don't. That's a good question. Whenever I think about that, I feel like I'm from Mexico, and I feel like I live in the UK, and my American identity is virtually. I would say I don't identify as American at all. However, a lot of my work has become being American. which is
Yeah,
funny,
odd. Yeah.
interesting, and odd. I identify. I spent a lot of time in the US growing up. My mum, we would spend every summer in the US, and I lived in LA for a little while, and like I feel like it's a place that I am very familiar with.
Yeah.
But I've never felt like that's my home or that's where I'm from, which is
I'm going to lay it out for you. I'm going to tell you what
know,
you are. You're an Americanized Mexican who grew up in England, in London.
Yeah. Yeah, in a nutshell.
I think that's what you are.
Nutshell.
Get me out of here. This nutshell. It's it's terrible. So when did little Pepe Balderrama decide that he wanted to be an actor?
I decided, I think, pretty young. I did a play. I remember it was the last play I did at my primary school in Mexico, and I played a polar bear in the Christmas show, King Polar Bear. It was a made-up show, but I loved it. And I remember the feeling of being in front of an audience and making them laugh, and that being something that I just kind of was like, that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And
I've heard about that feeling.
It's never you remember it, right, Todd?
I've never experienced it myself. I'm still waiting, but I've heard it's great.
Yeah. And I guess that's when I first sort of was like, that's fun.
The bug bit ya.
Yeah, and then when I went to England, it was interesting that the secondary school I went to there was a lot of actors' kids went there randomly. Not because it wasn't a stage school, but lots of actors lived in Dulwich, I guess, and sent their kids there. And it was a decent school. So and all of those kids, and I'm quite dyslexic, and I was really bad at reading out loud.
Oh, okay.
And so I never ever got any parts in the school plays through secondary school until I was in sixth form, which is now year 13, 12, around that, the final 2 years of school, high school. But I joined a youth theater outside of school, and the woman who ran that, a woman called Jackie Nichols, who had this cohort of kids, 2 of whom have been nominated for Oscars. Like, it was a crazy group of us. Chiwetel Ejiofor was a friend of mine from back then. Sally Hawkins was in that. Ollie Maltman. I mean, there was like a list of us who went into the profession, some of whom achieved Chiwetel and Sally's sort of heights, and some of us who are still working professionally in the industry. But there's about 10 of us. Anyway, we all did these plays every Easter holiday. And so that's how I really got like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Right.
And also, it was a great, the kind of people that you met and the friendships that you forged were so intense and so immediate and so lasting in a way that at school took a lot longer and didn't seem ever quite as like simpatico immediately. And I was like, this is because I was quite sporty as well. So that was another thing where I was like, maybe I should do that. And it just was a kind of no-brainer. And when I finished high school, I said to my mom, I just want to go to drama school. Excuse me. And she said, well, you have to go to university. And I was like, why? And she was like, because I spent a fortune on your education. You go to university. And I was like, right,
my mother did the same thing to me. I was like,
fine, I'll do that, but we have to make a deal. And so we made a deal that she would help me go to drama school after uni. Anyway, I ended up going to Glasgow University and did more theatre there than I did anything else. And thanked my mom profusely for that choice to not go straight to drama school, which I think would have been a huge mistake.
Why? Too young?
Because I think that, I think you're too young. And I think drama school is way harder than university, way, way more intense, way more emotionally sort of challenging. And quite honestly, when you leave school, you're not really, I don't think, ready for that personally.
It's like being a child actor at that point almost. 18,
and
19.
Exactly. And I just think there's as you know this, Todd, as you get older, you often feel that you become you know, you get better at stuff, whether it's acting or anything else. If you've been doing it a long time,
I know
you just
about the
get
getting
better at
older
it.
part. I don't know about the getting better bit.
Yes.
I've also
Only,
heard that's great.
you've heard that,
I've
I'm
heard
sure,
Let the
in
man speak.
passing. Exactly. And so, you know, the more you live, I think, especially being an actor, the more you live, the more you have to draw upon.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of characterizations and life experience. And I think if you go, you know, everyone at 18 has 18 years of life experience, and that's very, very varied in most people's cases. Yet they haven't done a lot of adulting at that point.
Right.
And that's one thing that everyone who's 18 sort of shares, with some exceptions. Obviously, some people are forced to grow up younger, but, you know, in general. And so I think that going to university just allowed me to, or do anything else, really. I think if I was to give someone advice, I would say don't go straight to drama school. Go and do something else. Go and travel. Go and go to uni. Go become a plumber. Learn how to be a carpenter. I don't know, something that's useful. And then if you really, really still want to do it, then
it's there for you. That's the thing I think that young actors miss out on, is that, oh, if I don't do it now and I don't start becoming famous by the time I'm 20, I will never be this thing.
Yes.
And you just want to tell them, go and grow up, go and have a life, live and experience, and then take all that and bring it back into your work. Acting's not going anywhere.
No, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. And you know, I think one of the things that happens when you do it as well, when you're that young, it becomes so important. And so if and when instant success doesn't come to you, it's crushing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, you know, I remember clearly my first day at drama school, the principal said to us, 25% of you, only 25% of you, if that, will do this long term as a profession. And this was an elite drama school. And I was like,
yeah, well, ain't gonna be me.
Well, it's not gonna be me, exactly. And everyone had that same feeling, sat there. And, you know, like, this guy doesn't know, he's been here too long, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. And you know, I'm still friends with virtually everyone in my graduating class, and that was actually more than the amount of us who still do it is less than 25%. I think it's probably out of a class of what ended up being 26. I think there's 4 or 5 of us still doing it. Still at it.
I was just saying
that
this,
was, you know, that was
in the industry.
Some right, 2 right, but no, the rest of them just did other things.
I was just saying this to my partner a few days ago, that it's you know, we know it's a marathon, not a sprint. We know that acting is not sustainable for most people because life will take over. You can continue to do acting anytime, but whether or not you're just 100% pro and you don't do anything else, that's a whole different game, and it takes more than just talent. And then other people, like you said, they'll shift into, plenty of friends that I went to university with, they shifted into production. They shifted into writing and directing and other places, line producing and all kinds of other things. And they have a nice acting background, which is great and serves their ability to work in the entertainment industry. But I can count endless friends who had talent, I thought was going to make it, you know, we're going places.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, absolutely.
They're not there anymore.
The most, in my opinion, the most talented people,
aren't doing
in my
it anymore.
year, all of them don't do it anymore.
Right.
If I was to say who, in my opinion, who the best actors in that year were, none of them do it anymore.
Yeah. Same. I think same.
So
same
it's nothing to do with talent.
So how does Pepe cut through all that and keep on the right track, land on his feet?
I think part of the reason was because I changed my name, because I think otherwise I was going to be like, you know, I think the idea of identity for me was a huge part of my, or I should say, other people's perception of my identity. My ethnicity became very problematic for me.
The word Jose, I mean, the name Jose is like a beacon of Hispaniola. Hispanicism or whatever. It screams it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most common name in Latin America.
Right. Yeah, right. And I just think that if somebody sees that, I wonder if it's the same for others that have Asian names or it must be African names.
I think only recently, I would say in the last 5-6 years, has it become much more of a badge of honor to not change your name.
Right. But more of a struggle, perhaps, to prove.
Maybe, but I think it's just becoming, thankfully, a thing of the past where your name
doesn't
defines
dictate.
what kinds of parts you're going to be seen for.
Right.
I think it's gone a little bit, if I'm honest, I think it's gone a little bit the other way where, sorry, hold on, I'm looking for someone from Hull. So if you're not from Hull,
right.
I'm not going to see you for this role. And it's like, well, okay, I understand that we need to be, I think the problem is that the people at the top making the decisions are still the same people who were there, generally speaking, 20 years ago when inclusivity was a problem. And now they're sort of all
trying to
be inclusive, but they don't really understand what that means.
Not nailing
and
it.
So that's why we now have this kind of crazy situation where actors are not being asked to act and pretend anymore. They're just being asked to be who they are. And if you're not who they're looking for in terms of every sort of specific ethnic and gender and
size,
sort of,
age,
everything. If you're not that, then you're not gonna get it. And it's so it becomes very difficult, especially if you're a jobbing actor. I think the stars are still allowed to be expansive. You've still got David Tennant playing Russian guys, but I'd never be allowed to play a Russian guy. You'd get someone with Russian ethnicity.
I played Russian in the past in movies,
but when?
But 15 years ago.
So
no more.
Yeah. And so I think that's become a really sad byproduct of the industry trying to readjust and become sort of,
the pendulum is sort of swung way to the other,
because there's no real understanding as to what the problem was in the first place. Which was just if I'm Black, if I'm Latino, if I'm from Essex, I should still be able to go and play a doctor. It doesn't matter. The role should be doctor, and they have that sort of thing where they say, I think on casting breakdowns, all ethnicities and stuff. But I've been here a long time. I've played English on screen. The proportion of parts that I get seen for that are English, regardless of what they do professionally, the characters, I mean, is tiny.
Yeah.
And not that I'm dying to play English people, but I'm like, it's just a thing. It's a real thing. And at the same time, I don't want to complain about it because my niche and my diversity and my uniqueness in terms of people's perception of me has also given me the opportunity to do things like the Batman, for example. Or when I moved to LA, it was when casting directors here realized that I was American,
right,
or genuinely American, which is hilarious because I'm not genuinely American. I happen to have a US passport,
right,
and my mother is American.
Right.
So yes, on paper I am American, but like as I said earlier, when you asked me where, I don't feel like I'm American. I don't actually, even in a sporting event, I don't even really ever root for the US. I like US sports. Like I have a team. Right. I follow all the Boston teams in baseball and American football and stuff like that. But like, I don't have a national affinity, or
right. You don't stand up and put your hand on your heart every time you see the flag.
No, not flag. At all. Not at all. Whereas I have that.
That's a different thing, Jay.
Yeah, I do have that with Mexico, and even to a certain extent, I do have that with England.
Yeah,
or the UK or Britain or whatever. And so it's all about what people think, right, and what people perceive.
I want to give one example of that because I was just also having this conversation recently with my partner, Justina. Talked to her a lot about acting. She's probably bored to stiff. But the example I gave, because we were watching something, and I can't quite remember, but she sort of asked me, and I said, the thing about it is if you put in someone who is not of an ethnicity that was expected, let's say, like you said, like a doctor who can't, it's because I think the directors have a mental, like they're visual, right? Producers and directors, they work in a visual medium. So in their head, it's this, and they don't understand how acting works anyway. It's all witchcraft for them. It's like hocus pocus. So they go, well, I was thinking he was a white guy, right? And so if you throw in a Hispanic guy, then somehow they feel like, oh, we better write in there into the script like a bunch of crap about how come this Hispanic guy is in London or in Korea or wherever, and justify all this. And you go, no, you don't really have to. It's kind of a global cosmopolitan world. Everybody's international. It doesn't matter. If a Brit was in America, and we've seen this in plenty of TVs and movies where, the Scottish guy, I forget his name, he was in the IT Crowd, and I saw a movie where he played a cop, like a sheriff in the Midwest.
Oh, the Irish. Yeah, Chris. I went to drama school with him.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Irish. I thought he was Scottish.
Yeah, he's Irish.
Maybe we're thinking
one of the five
guys.
Chris O'Dowd.
Oh, Chris O'Dowd. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, yeah, he's Irish. Yeah, of course. Anyway, he was a cop in the Midwest. It was like a comedy, and they didn't really even have to address the fact that, I think they some throwaway line about, oh, what are you doing? Or Liam Neeson, is like in the Midwest running around. He's like just in America, just living and doing stuff, and nobody goes, hey, what's an Irishman doing here anyway? And he, there's not like a monologue of like, well, I see. I do my Irish accent. I come here for my mother was born and I was raised. They don't explain all of it, It doesn't have to happen. But somehow they seem to think like, if it's here in Britain or some other places.
Liam Neeson's kind of the Sean Connery, though, of the entertainment industry.
Right.
Anyway.
At
He's
this
allowed
point,
to just be Liam Neeson now.
But here's the other great example that I always turn to is Shawshank Redemption. Okay. Morgan Freeman, great movie, widely like top rated, the best movie. If you haven't seen it, go see Shawshank. Morgan Freeman plays the character. He plays Red. And there's never, I think the book, he was an Irish guy in the book, the play, the screenplay, somebody at some point, I don't know the story, the true story, but somebody at some point he said, who'd be great in that role is Morgan Freeman. And then probably some other executive goes, but that's supposed to be a white Irish guy. And what do we do about that? And maybe Stephen King or somebody, to their credit, went, nothing. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Just Morgan Freeman plays him. And when somebody says, why do they call you Red? And he goes, maybe because I'm Irish. It's just a little throwaway line. And there isn't a whole story about, or any mention of the fact that he's black or that he comes from this or whatever. It's just an actor playing the role. Yeah. And nobody questions. The audience doesn't question. Nobody does. No. And I just want to, sorry. I'm on a rant. I just want to see.
It's true.
But I want to see more of that. I don't want to see.
I agree. I think people want to see more of that too. I mean,
right?
That is how you sort of solve this problem of inclusion. Is you just sort of think about it like that, because then everyone's included. If you don't define them, and then it's communal and it's everyone's just there, right?
You can even get to the point where
it can almost even maybe, or dare I say it, become a meritocracy, where you do have someone just being like, oh, I just believe you for some reason. I'm not sure why. Probably because you're really good.
Yeah.
And then someone else can make a decision that's based on something slightly more profound than where they think you're from, or what you look like, whatever.
I would love to see that in the breakdowns we get when you get a casting, you get a breakdown, what's called a breakdown, and that has information about what they're looking for as a character. But I would just rather see, basically, if it's down to a specific, this guy is definitely from America and needs to have an American accent. Okay, that's fine. But can it not be whatever sort of age, whatever height, whatever?
I mean, I think, in some scripts or whatever, there can be examples where you need to sort of, or the writer or the director has a really strong vision of something, right? I get that's fine. There's no issue with that. But I think I think there's such a large swathe of writing, particularly I think on television, where the specifics of certain characters, particularly on the day player sort of rung of things, if you like, is much more generic and unspecified. And actually, if those people who book those parts, so they generally book them because they've done something that worked, as opposed to them just looking exactly like what they imagined the casting director before, or the director. They just sort of did a good audition or whatever.
It's like you have to change the mind of the director at some point.
Yeah, I think
you hear a lot of success stories about that, where Danny DeVito comes in, and they weren't looking for Danny DeVito in Taxi.
Right.
He changed the mind of the director and said, "No, this is what you want," and they didn't even know what they wanted.
I think often they don't. And I think that's one of the greatest pieces of advice that I learned far too late in life about auditioning, is that you are the solution to their problem.
Right.
And if you go into an audition with the mentality that, not that you're trying to impress them, or that you hope that they like you, or that you don't mess it up, or whatever it is, which I probably did for about 20 years of my 20-year career. I think going into a room thinking, I hear you have a problem.
Yeah.
I got a solution.
I got a solution.
Nice. If you want to take that solution, it's up to you. But I got a good one.
Right.
And you just have that in your pocket as a sort of thought, as opposed to, I really hope I don't screw this up, or, I remember focusing on all the things that you focus on as an actor frequently when you go into an audition, which is, God, I hope they like me, or I hope I book this, or whatever it is. If you just go in there going,
I need the money.
Yeah, I mean,
No, but you're right. If you go in there and say, you know what, I'm going to show them what I got. I got a solution. I think this is what, they're going to get something out of me that they didn't even know they wanted.
And the worst case scenario in that scenario is that they come away thinking you're pretty great, even if you don't get the part.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they'll just be like,
I loved what he did. It wasn't, but
and
maybe not right.
So many stars need to align for you to get a part these days, increasingly so, because you have 18 executive producers, half of which are actors now. But you've got the studio execs, you've got the producer, the director, the casting, and you have 25 different people, all of whom have to align.
Line producer as well, who's saying,
showrunner. I mean, like,
too expensive.
The list goes on, and so you realize that
financial choice.
When you realize how many people have to agree, you actually kind of go, I can't believe anyone
ever picked me
on anything,
right?
Because I mean, it's a miracle every time you get a job, and so if you get caught up on thinking about that too much, I found it starts to become incredibly unhelpful and self-defeating, and you start thinking about things that really you don't have any business thinking about, because you've got no control over them. And I think if you can come to a place where you give over that that need to control, to sort of to want to know or whatever, I think if you can just go in and go, I've got something to show you, it's pretty cool. And then you can leave it there. I think that's when you've succeeded at an audition. And that's always it's magic, right? When you can do it, then that's great. If you can really, like, I've recently started immediately dispensing of any sides that I have for auditions, like straight away, just to sort of mentally wash the self-tape out of my life, because the point of doing it is just to do it and show it, and that's it. That's your job as an actor, is to audition and show your work. Getting a job, you can't, it's I think George Clooney said this. He sort of realized, you can't go into an audition and lose a job because it wasn't yours in the first place.
Right.
You can only lose a job if you get fired off a job
that you had, right? Yeah.
So it's I can't believe I didn't, that feeling of I lost that. No, you didn't. It wasn't ever yours. And so if you don't get chosen, that's one thing, but you didn't lose anything because you didn't have it in the first place. And so that's also quite helpful, I think, in terms of, you know, how you try and, like, you know, because it's a process, isn't it, to try and digest that constant rejection that we all have. And you have a far more rejection than you do affirmation in this career, more so than probably any other career in the world. And I think if you can beat that, or find a way to digest that or matriculate that without it harming you, those are the people who are able to sustain the course. I think if you're able to find a way to sort of, you know, systemically kind of go through the emotional trauma of that rejection,
Those
if you're
are
able
the
to find a
marathon
way
runners.
I think then you can. And the key to that is having other things in your life, I think. And which is why I come back to a point of, like, if you go straight to drama school and then you come out of drama school and then all you have in front of you is unemployment, it's
that's your betting.
That's my betting.
Go get it.
Can I go get it?
Go get it. Let's find
I'll be
out what
really
you got.
quick. It's
Okay.
literally 2 seconds worth.
That's all right. Wow. I am I really like this. I got the solution part. I'm learning so much in this podcast.
I am too. Though I feel so bad. I'm pretty sure my internet is still awful.
No, your internet's all
But
right.
I can hear everything.
Good.
I've been avoiding really talking because I don't want to interrupt, because he really is sharing great things.
Sorry, guys.
Welcome back. I hope it's going to be a comfortable night's sleep for you and your wife. You deserve it. You deserve it. I want to shift gears a little bit, Pepe.
Yeah, sorry, I was going down a rabbit hole.
No. I think it's great.
Loved it.
We loved it. But you've had some
you.
success. Instead of talking, let's not dwell on all the, because I want to talk about your successes, the few that you have had, actually.
Yeah.
Now, because this is what's impressed me about you and your performance style, and maybe nobody's even highlighted it for you before, but I will, because that's what I do. Your ability to play those kind of roles that generally are quite difficult to play. The detective, the military guy. It's a lot of exposition. Basically, you're the guy who's explaining the story. You know, Batman isn't going to stand there and explain the whole story of all this is what's going on. You know, they need these characters to come into the show, and you're going to be the guy, and here's what's going on. You basically are telling the audience, this is all the story. And you have sort of cornered that market in a sense. Do you see that? But you're very good at it.
Yeah,
it's a needed thing.
Thank you. That's a compliment indeed. I
don't give them
I definitely do see that, because I end up I've become quite adept at learning dialogue that is, as you say, very expositional and occasionally sort of technical and stuff. And and that has I guess led to more of those things coming in my direction, whether I end up booking them or not. But
if you're good at that, that's it. I call that a utility role, and I probably others would too. Those characters are substantially necessary because they drive the story of the film or the television show. But it is in and of itself an acting style and technique, which, if you're paying attention and understand how stories work and how, you know, things are written and the hero's journey, et cetera, those kind of characters need to come in to drive that story. Doing that as an actor is not easy.
No, well, because I think the thing you need to do is realize that you are, as you say, you're a mechanism in a storytelling machine,
right,
which has its place, and you have to sort of honor that. And I think there's a sense sometimes when you get a self-tape for a role that maybe has one scene or whatever, and the function of you in that scene is plot driven. It's sometimes very difficult to find character in that.
Absolutely.
Or a character reason.
Or
for that.
tone as well, because you don't know how the whole, I mean, Batman, you can sort of guess, but some of these shows, you know, it's like,
Batman
I don't
was
know.
a baptism of fire. I can tell you about that later. But it becomes about not, in my mind, the way I sort of matriculate it is you just try not to do too much, because it's not about you. It's not about you and what tricks you have up your sleeve and sort of what bits you can like do. It's really just about serving the story. And if you can be true to that process and not the process of, I really need to make this shine. This moment needs to be.
I want everybody
like,
to see Pepe on
those
screen.
Yeah,
my
and
family
those
are going to be
moments,
watching this. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not really about that.
No,
and if
not at
the
all.
more you try and do that, the less it works.
Yeah.
And I think that I guess sometimes you need to sort of not make it about you, which is contrary to the way a lot of actors tend to
like
want to.
99% of the time, it's
ensemble
ensemble.
to make it about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course. But this is
And,
this is where a lot of us get in trouble, especially early days. Is you think this is my moment.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story, and then you can tell us the Batman story if you want. Trial by fire, because I like to tell stories of embarrassment because I think people learn from this. I was on Hellboy, the original Hellboy, and it was a terrible shoot, awful. That's a long story. Nighttime shoots with just freezing cold conditions. Anyway, in Prague, out in some quarry out in the middle of nowhere in Prague, and they were. I had a small role. I was in a lot of the shots, a few lines coming, at some point, and I was a military guy, but I had a couple lines for later. But I was part of this crew that was looking for the Hellboy, and we run up, and we're meant to see that, and they're pointing a laser pointer. They're going, the little baby Hellboy jumps out of the casket, and he's born, and you guys come in and you give a look, right? And I, because I was a young, brash, like, trained actor who was upset that Guillermo del Toro or anyone else wasn't telling me what I should be doing when I see this. What should be my expression when I see Hellboy jump out of his little Hellboy casket or whatever, born, and so I purposefully, now, God, this is almost too embarrassing, but these stories need to be told.
Go there, Todd.
Go there. Let me go there. I started like going. If you're watching on YouTube, so I'd run in with a group of like 3 or 4. We'd see the Hellboy, and I'd go and make this really dramatic face, hoping to be called out so that somebody would finally call and go, guys, it's a very subtle look, because I didn't know what do they want me to do? Hellboy? I don't know what a Hellboy is. This is the first movie. I don't know, comic book. He's gonna be jumping around, and there's like a laser pointer. We're supposed to, and I'm going, and finally, you know what happened? I didn't get pulled aside by Guillermo del Toro, who went, Todd, bring it down, and just when you see him, just like you're mildly, because I'm going, it's a Hellboy. Wouldn't I be like, oh my God, what the hell? I went way over.
Hellboy.
I hammed it. What the Hellboy? Oh, I'm so sad that you got that line and I didn't get it. God, good for you, Pepe. Good for you. No, what happened? The first AD comes up and says, Todd, why don't you stand back here? Pulled me out of the shot and stuck me in the back where they can't see me because they had a little bit of a confab, and they went, what's he doing? And I pull him out of the... And I was mortified. The whole thing, the rest of it went terribly for me. And I was trying to make it, in essence, about me.
Yeah, and
and
but
not
that
about
also,
Hellboy.
it's about knowing what you're in as well.
Well,
I think in general, but it's difficult when if you go walk onto a set, you don't know what you're in.
What am I in? What's the tone of this movie? Are we heightened here, or is it like you want a natural look? Like I've seen these things every day, or mildly shocked. I was just upset that they didn't, because they don't know how to talk to actors and things like that. But you have to know when you get on the set of something like any of the films you've done or any of the other bits you've done, you have to know. It's on you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
suss it out.
In that and which leads into the Batman story very much, which is
Very
it's just
good.
about the ability. I think if you're successful in being able to sort of do that, it's because you're good at assimilation and processing a situation rapidly.
Yes.
And making adjustments accordingly.
Yes.
Instantaneously.
This is what I've come to the conclusion, Pepe. An actor worth his salt is he or she not only talented, that takes you a good portion of the way, and not only, you know, kind of business-minded and this kind of thing, and communicative, and, you know, a lot of the kind of elements, social and that stuff, but you have to be intelligent, meaning that you have to be intuitive, and that's like a huge element to it, because you have to understand when they send you this commercial, you have to understand for the few words that they give you or the script, and they only give you one page of the whole movie, you have to understand what they're going for to some degree, somehow. Now.
Yeah, totally.
Batman. Tell me about it. The kids all love Batman. They want to know.
They do. It was, you know, obviously it was a huge break for me in terms of the day player level sort of ratcheted up massively with that, because that scene when we shot it, it was the first week of principal photography for the film. Wow. And it was a three-hander essentially with big me and the amazing Jeffrey Wright and Robert Pattinson playing Batman, and it was just the three of us essentially, even though there was lots of other people milling about. It was a three-hander scene, and Matt Reeves, who directed it, is a very meticulous director, and he knows exactly what he's looking for, but he does a lot of takes, like a lot of takes. I mean, like 25 plus per setup.
Really? Wow.
That's
yeah. So I didn't know that coming on, and also like there was a style which had been established essentially by Robert and by Jeffrey, where there was a whispery tone.
Yeah.
To the to proceedings, and so I had prepared what I had prepared.
Yeah.
And I walk into
he's got a lot of injuries.
This enormous set, and there's Robert in his suit looking like amazing.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, who I've been an admirer of like since he did this incredible film called Basquiat when he was very young.
Oh yeah, I remember Basquiat. Yeah.
And I was very much like, wow,
intimidated.
I can't believe how way out of my depth I am right
above
now.
My pay grade.
Just like
punching above my weight on this one.
The least. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we get to showtime, and so I'm assessing that my performance has to sort of not jar with what Jeffrey and Robert are doing. So that's okay. Anyway, but because Matt does a lot of takes, like if you're doing a one, and he does a lot of setups, so one scene will have potentially up to 15 setups, 20 maybe even.
Wow.
And you're doing 20 takes per setup. That's a lot. That's a lot of saying the same lines.
Yeah, it's a long day.
And
wow.
And so in between takes, Matt would just be like, and again, and it would be like stories I've heard about Kubrick, who would just do a lot of takes, and partly sometimes to exhaust the actor, sometimes like he sort of had a but I didn't. Anyway, Jeffrey, God bless him, saw the panic that was clearly setting in, like halfway through into this, like 10, let's say take 15 of this.
Were you thinking it was you that the reason?
Yeah, of course, because it was me speaking.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, I'm not nailing this. Pepe, you're not nailing this, buddy.
Exactly. And words start to cease to make sense because you've said the same one so often. It's like you may as well be speaking in a different language. Anyway, Jeffrey saw that I started obviously becoming sweaty or something, I don't know. And he was like, "Hey kid, it's okay. It's not you. It's just how it's gonna be." And
did he do it in his Batman voice?
Yeah. Well, because he had to do it so no one else would do it. He was being very kind, and
so Batman was giving you acting tips on the set.
And it was just like,
what an angel.
But it just took. And sometimes I hope that if ever I sort of elevate beyond being procedural guy. I hope that I can do that for someone at some point if I feel there, because you know I think it's really quite it's quite important that when you work with elder statesman actors that they take that responsibility on and sort of look after the people who are potentially not as experienced or whatever, as famous.
Any A-lister or any actor who's in a leading role or a bigger role worth their salt recognizes immediately that you have the more difficult job, particularly on that day. And you are the technical actor who is being put into a position of very much having to perform.
Yeah.
Whereas he pretty much only has to stand around in his costume and whisper a couple lines, right?
There's a lot of whispering.
In that scenario. And you are... so I think that absolutely they see that. There's there's mutual respect on the set. I've seen it many, many times where, you know, but as actors can recognize, nobody else maybe, not even the director, none of the crew certainly.
Well, because as you say, you know, Matt would have been, he probably wouldn't even been paying any attention to what I was doing. He was looking at the light because he's so specific about how things
he's
look.
Expecting you to do your job, right?
Of course, he's just like, he's saying the words, right? That's fine. And you know, my friends of mine who've worked with Woody Allen, for example, he doesn't even look at the monitor and he doesn't say anything to anyone. In fact, he famously finds the filming of a movie the most boring part of the filmmaking process. He really enjoys writing and he loves the editing. The bit in the middle is tedious.
It's tedious. Like, he has to sit there all day.
And that is a very direct, like, sort of, I think, you know, your focus is elsewhere.
If he's happy, then you're moving on, and that's how you know. Yeah.
Exactly.
But the other actors completely understand. So that was really great that he.
And it was he was great, and Robert was equally. He was a brilliant number one, and like you know, and they wrote me into more of the movie afterwards. So I obviously I wasn't originally it was just that one scene, and then I got a bit more afterwards. But that was a good lesson in terms of not making it about you, basically, and understanding that you're part of a machine,
bigger mechanism,
and you're one little sort of cog in it, and you know that cog is essential, but it's not about. It's
replaceable.
Not about
too.
you, and if you and you kind of
it's essential, but it's
just
replaceable.
It's essential and replaceable at very short notice. But you kind of have to sort of understand that, and if you can understand that and enjoy that, then I think then you can be successful and have an enjoyable experience as opposed to not. Or one that's sort of fueled by self-doubt. But it's one of those things that you don't know, or you know, no one tells you this at school. No one tells you this even necessarily when you're like talking about it with until you talk to the other friends, other colleagues of yours, other actors who've had similar experiences where you're like, and you know, all directors are slightly different, and some are much better actually at being interested in what you're doing as an actor. I've worked on things where the director was very much an actor's director, and he wasn't solely concerned with, you know, what the light was doing or whatever. And so
that's refreshing,
it varies,
isn't it?
and it is. It's lovely when you get those experiences. But certainly, the bigger the project, it tends to be those directors who have that kind of a vision. It's less likely they're going to be giving you a lot of time. Because they've got a different set of requirements that they're looking at.
They might be able to, if they can squeeze out a minute, you're grateful. And you don't
totally.
And you don't pressure them, to be honest, because you see that the money machine is rolling. You know, that day you were on was a $250,000 day. You don't pull him aside and go, hey, listen, my mark, you know. I'm not happy with the, you know, you got to really pick and choose that conversation.
Definitely.
I like to go talk to the DOP.
DOP is always a good touchstone. They're the ones that
they're happy to help.
Yeah.
You make their job easier if they can see, oh, this guy wants to hit the mark right, and he wants to.
Yeah.
Show me your frame. Show me the frame. They flip the
Exactly.
Mark. Oh, cool.
No, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
They love it. They love it. Did you work with Armando? Did you work with Iannucci?
I did. Armando was brilliant. He's a.
I'm a huge fan of his. Yeah, he's a genius. Armando, if you're listening, toddkramer.com, available for children's birthday parties, whatever you got. No, great. How? So tell me.
I mean, he on that particular job, he was sort of more in a producery role. Yeah. Although he's a very hands-on producer. He's not a sort of drop in and out producer. Right. And he's always there on set, but he wasn't directing those.
Right.
Those episodes.
He's like the creator and producer.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, his body of work is extraordinary, and he's doing this this thing now with is that me making that?
That is you
Why
interrupting.
Is that? My phone is on
our
silent.
podcast.
He's doing this West End thing with everyone's name's gone out of my head. You know the one, right?
It's Dr. Strangelove he's doing.
Strangelove, that's right.
I wanted
Anne and Ollie.
Is Coogan playing the?
Steve Coogan is playing the Peter Sellers role.
Yeah, I figured he would.
Or roles.
I wanted to. They made an announcement. They were like, "We're looking for someone who can play the part," and I was like, "Well, put me up for it. I could play though. I would love to play that." But I knew Coogan would get it.
Coogan just pipped you at the post. I heard that it was between you and.
It was between Coogan wanted more money, so they were like, "Well, we're looking at this guy Todd Kramer," and then Coogan brought his fee down. They went, "Oh,
yeah."
Okay. Good.
Exactly.
So they just used me as like a pawn in their big game. But I would do any role on that. I would sweep the stage in that show.
Yeah,
it's gonna be amazing. Yeah,
it is. It is.
If you don't know, well, so you worked with Coogan as well, though, on Ollie, Stan and Ollie. Yeah,
I did. Yeah,
that was a great film. I'm a big fan of Laurel Hardy and.
Yeah, no, I mean the performances in that film I thought were spectacular.
Yeah,
Jeff Pope, who wrote it. It was such a touching. It was a love story, essentially, just
about actors.
About actors, and the twilight. It was all about after they'd lost their fame and fortune and so on at that point. And I thought the performances were exceptional in that film. Shirley Henderson's just extraordinary as well.
Yeah.
And the two guys, John C. Reilly. John C. Reilly's when we did that scene that you showed in the showreel. I realized my showreel's too long. Anyway, the fat suit he had really on was so heavy that he would have to sit down constantly. And the makeup was incredible because actually John was really quite thin at that point.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah. And
he looked the part.
It just amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That was a fun experience as well, because the director of that film was trying to get I don't know if you know that film The Player, the Robert Altman film. Love that famous tracking shot at the beginning, which is 3 minutes long. And so I think all auteur directors want to try and get one extremely long tracking shot in their movie. But and so I think this was John's opportunity to do that. I think and there was that Orson Welles one in
that's Orson. Was that El Zapato? No,
what's it
anyway? Orson Welles started that.
Yeah,
and Goodfellas, same thing.
Yeah, there's a history of it, and he was trying to do that through that, and so we had that scene was 100 extras at least. There was a donkey.
How many times did you screw it up?
Well, we filmed it for it was 3 days. That one scene, it was on one take. Wow. One take.
What's the pressure like on that?
It was pressured because I was at the
you're at the end. Yeah,
right.
And you got a bunch of lines and dialogue and back and forth.
Yes, there was an actor who I shan't name who had trouble with it a bit. But
I can guess.
It went. Yeah, it was interesting. It was tense.
That's what I call the $200,000 shot. That's the one,
Oh, 100%. 100. That was the shot. If there ever was one, because it was such a long tracking shot in an enormous warehouse. 60 extras, all having to cross. We rehearsed it for 2 days before we even brought a camera practically involved.
Right.
So that everyone knew what they were doing.
Wow.
it was really, it was a feat. It was a feat.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool to
yeah.
be part of that.
It was really, I felt very, very lucky to be part of that particular project. It was cool. Very cool.
Pepe, you're doing so well. I think,
I think
so many stories.
Yeah, it's sort of
for me, I think your career is just beginning. Do you feel
I
that?
hope so. They said, I remember a teacher at drama school said to me that, you know, he said, yeah, this was a teacher called Jenny Lippman, and she said, you know, this was the same woman who said, on my last day leaving drama school, she said, darling, it's such a terrible shame, you know, they don't make westerns anymore because you would have worked a lot, but never mind. Presumably as a bandito.
The little bandito, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, yeah, it's a shame.
We
Jenny.
could do a western. I'll play the Clint Eastwood part, and you
This
play
is what
like
you're leaving. This is
we
what
don't
you're
need no
sending me out
stinking.
with.
We're sending. We don't need no badges.
Yeah, exactly. But she said, but you know, it'll be all right. Yeah, exactly. The sweetener was, but you'll be all right, darling. You're not going to work till you're older anyway. And I was like,
you're like 24.
It was sort of like a double, like,
yeah, 1, 2.
But I think she possibly saw something. She seemed to have been right that I've certainly seemed to have worked more in the last 10 years than I did in the first 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're maturing into your look and your style, your manner. I guess you're maturing into it.
Yeah, and I think for me it changed a lot when I had kids and when I had other focuses.
Right.
When basically acting wasn't the most important thing in my life. It was a thing that I did, but
huge.
I had other things that took precedence.
That's huge.
And I think when that moment clicked, everything changed in terms of my success rate at auditions.
Yeah.
Because I just had to I'd be like, okay, I need to be somewhere else. So we better move this along.
Yeah.
And I think that energy that you don't, that's really hard to get when you don't have it for free, is one that definitely was huge. And I sort of, I thank my children for that, even though they've made me look very old. I do think that they, you know, that idea where you kind of realize that there are more important things in life, that life is important, the most important thing. And acting is something that we do and we love doing it. And sometimes we don't love doing it. And that's okay too, because sometimes it's really boring. And, you know, I think it's okay to think of it, I think, as well as a job and not sort of, I think there's so much sort of, oh, but you do what you love. It must be amazing. And it's like, well, I don't love it all the time. A lot of it's really hard and not brilliant. And even when you're working, you kind of, you know, I think there's that sort of, what's the phrase? I think a collective term for actors is a whinge of actors. So even when you're working on you know, it's everyone's always got something to complain about in terms of their, you know, whatever, their trailer's not.
That's why I've got, this is what this podcast is all about.
You know.
That's why I've got
everything's relative.
Very successful podcast of whinging
and even
actors.
I think even like Tom Cruise probably has a thing where he's like, but Tom Hanks gets this and I don't.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you ever reach a point where there's not someone else who you at least feel has that you can reach further. You know what I mean? And there's no, and so when you're conscious of that and you go, there's no ceiling to this, there's no end to this. Don't look for it. I think you will find a much happier place. And I think that's a really hard thing to do when you feel that you're not getting your fair share or your fair shake at things. And I felt that for a long, long time where I was just like irritated every time I looked at the television, because it seemed that you know, for some reason I did National Youth Theatre and dramas. I know a lot of successful people as well. And so every time I turned the TV on, I was like, oh, Christ.
Yeah.
Okay,
there they
good.
are.
Oh,
it's
they
so
got that.
hard.
Brilliant.
I know.
And so, but I
hard.
think as soon as you're able to sort of just be like, oh, great, they got that. Or I'm so glad that they're doing, you know what I mean? You sort of.
When does that come?
I think it comes. I think if you let it,
waiting.
Todd, there's that place. There's that place.
I can't watch TV or movies because I see somebody. I just turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off.
No, but you're absolutely right.
Make
you're
it
right.
stop.
It does come. It does come where you because that's one of the, actually I enjoy that part of our business is when you're watching something and you see your friends.
Yeah.
I can't turn on because I did Prague and there's a lot of stuff shot there. I have local friends there. LA I did and here. So very rarely can I turn something on where I don't go, oh, I know
Someone,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, I know that person.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. The good thing for us, though, Todd, is that eventually people do stop doing it, so the competition gets slightly less.
That's right. The older we get, if you can just hold on, I'm waiting for my
Stay
70s.
alive.
There won't be anybody else alive that can play.
Stay alive.
Stay alive. If you want to be a successful actor, folks, just stay
alive.
There it
Yeah.
is.
There it is.
That's the title of the podcast
Great.
episode.
That's the title
What's
of the
next?
podcast.
What's next for Pepe Balderrama? Is there anything you want to plug?
I
Anything?
am doing, yes, I'm doing a project that I started last year, but it sort of had a full start because of the strikes.
Oh,
It's kind of
yeah.
a big deal, kind of a big thing. It's
Good. Is there a part in it for me?
there might be, you never know. I think it's cast now.
Such
but,
an actor question.
it's a Brad Pitt film featuring Formula One racing.
Oh, I think I saw that pop up on your spotlight there, coming or coming soon or something like that. Yeah, Brad Pitt.
So,
what
yeah.
he plays like a pit? Is he in the pit?
He's in.
Does he have a tiny
my
role?
wife said, "Is that why they call it a pit lane?"
No, she
when we
didn't.
were-
No.
She did.
Oh,
She
boy.
did. Bless.
She's not-
But she.
She's gonna hate you for saying.
Yeah. No. He's
So
a
how-
he's a racing driver. Yeah,
Ooh.
and
Oh,
I
he
play
plays the racing driver. That
He does.
oh,
yes.
that makes sense. Yeah, that
he
makes
plays
sense.
one of them.
He's a big
and,
star apparently.
He apparently is. Yeah, he's a kind of big deal in some.
So
parts.
did you write it? Work on it?
No, I'm in it.
You're just in it?
one of I play a
grease monkey,
no
a wrench
but
jockey,
I play
the guy
an
that changes the
engineer,
tires.
a
Oh,
race
okay.
engineer. I get to
Okay.
wear a lot of these.
You get to wear that and shout. You're doing great.
Yeah, so
It's a
it's
lot of-
cool. We're going to go to a lot of Grand Prix. We're going to Abu Dhabi and we're going all over the place. It's Joe Kaczynski who directed.
You haven't started
Top Gun
shooting yet?
Maverick. We did start shooting, but then
Oh,
the
okay.
strike happened and it
Oh,
got
so you're
shut
picking
down.
up. Okay.
So we are essentially sort of starting again because the strike happened a week into photography.
Right. Oh my God. Jeez.
So yeah, we were doing it kind of all again this year, and we're going filming during actual live.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's going to be
That's
it's
cool.
a big.
I can picture you doing that.
thing.
You actually with the headphones on right now. Everybody.
There you
look,
go. I kind of look like this a
You look
lot
like I like it.
in the
Yeah.
movie, yeah.
I see it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
exciting.
That's great.
So we'll
Are
see.
you going to be
you know,
famous then? By the time this
Awesome.
you're going to be like this time next year. I'm going to be like, I got Pepe
That'd be great if
Balderrama.
you
You've heard of
could.
him? Big Brad Pitt movie. Yeah. Please
if I
get
could,
famous.
if I
It
could
would help
just
the
do
podcast.
that, I'll do my best for you, Hot Toddy. I'll do my best for you.
That's Jay's thing. I don't know why. It's been an absolute delight to have you.
Thank you very much.
Are we
for
friends
having
now?
me. I felt slightly sad when you said that in the
You were
build-up.
inviting your friends to have
I have
beers after.
literally
You're like, you want to go for beers? Want to go for beers? And I walked past you and I was like,
That is
you going for beers? And you're like,
categorically
yeah,
not true,
we're going.
categorically not true.
No?
You were
Oh.
running off to get the train back.
I
home,
was, yeah, that's true.
as I recall.
Yeah.
But
Not that an invite was forthcoming, but yeah. I
we
was
are
right.
definitely friends. I don't think that's true. Oh my
We'll
god.
go for beers. We'll go for beers.
We'll do. I hope I see you soon.
I'm
at
going.
one
I'm
of
working
those.
tomorrow. You working tomorrow? Phoebe just
I actually am.
3
Are
to
you
6.
working tomorrow afternoon?
3 to
3
6
and 6.
with Phoebe.
yeah.
High five. We're going for beers tomorrow then. One.
hilarious.
You got time?
Yes.
You got time for a beer?
sure.
All right. Beautiful. We can do the
Well,
post.
there you go.
There
We
it
can have-
is.
You're always calling it post-mortem as well, which makes it feel like someone's
That's
died.
what we always say in theater. the
I know you
postmortem.
say that, but post-mortem is something that you have after someone dies.
I know, but that's what we say in theater. Don't you say that in theater? Is that not a thing?
Well,
the
yeah, I
postmortem.
guess, but you should
the theater
say like
when the show
sort
is
of
dead.
a post. I don't know, like a
Livitum.
post-birth conversation,
Post
something that hasn't died.
birthdom.
Postpartum.
That's something else, Jay.
Oh my God! All right. On that
Let's
note,
not do that.
Pepe Balderrama. Muy bien, muy bien. Andy's going to show
Thank
you
you,
the way
guys.
out. We're just going to have a quick
Very good.
wrap up. Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you.
Beers tomorrow. It's going to be
Hasta
awesome.
mañana, baby.
Cervezas mañana. Gracias mucho.
Ciao,
Thanks,
ciao.
buddy.
Bye, Jay.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Pepe, wow.
Oh my god.
Jay? What do you think?
Oh my god.
Do I bring the rock stars or what?
Oh my god, you're bringing the rock stars. That was so. I'm still stressed about my internet though, but that was so
you're
good.
good.
That was
great.
so good.
I've got the solution. You've got the problem. You need a part
I've got
cast,
the solution.
and I've got the solution.
What did he say specific? What is he? Yeah, the solution. Yeah, solutions. I've got a solution. I've got something to show you, and it's pretty cool.
And it's pretty cool. Yeah.
It was so.
Wow.
That was so good. Oh my gosh, that was so good.
Best yet. No, I don't want to say that. They've all been great. They've all been great.
I won't say they're all. You really. I said this last time. You're just bringing on the bangers. You
I
really
should have
are.
been. You know what? I should have been a casting director or an agent or something because I got an eye for talent. I can tell.
I guess
when
you really do. You really do. And gosh, so people are going to listen to this. Actor friends of mine are going to listen to this. I'm going to point them to this episode. I'm going to be like, you guys, you want a wealth of information?
Right.
Listen to this episode. I promise you.
Free information. I'll give a
Free
little
of
shout out.
charge.
Free of charge. There's no charge. Not yet anyway. Little shout out to Andy. Want to say thank you to our boy Andy for all your digital streaming needs. If you're thinking about opening a podcast of your own or you got any streaming services you need, go to readdigital.com. It'll be in the show notes. You can go there. You can talk to Andy. He's our guy. He's our production guy. And he may or may not be able to help you out. Give him, coffee money and 6 cups. He drinks 6 cups. And then talk to the man. Help him out. Or he'll help you out, rather. So that's a little shout out to Andy. He's great. He's in the background there where we like him. We don't let him talk to us or anything, but he's back there smiling. Now he's blushing. He's gone bright red. Jay, thank you. And thank you to the audience for checking in once again for another installment of That's the One, the Offstage Acting Podcast. We were happy to have you this episode.
Yes,
Pepe, Balderrama, Todd, Kramer, Jerry, Andrew Reed, the whole crew from the Offstage Acting Podcast. Until next time, take care. There he is, Jose Pepe Balderrama. I mean, what an amazing talent, right? Was I right or was I right? Did I nail it? I love having guests like that. And such insight. And, really cool to have had him. Sorry about the trouble with Jay's internet. But I guess in the end, it didn't interfere too much with our podcasting. So thanks again, everybody. And we'll catch you next time.
I've been listening to you guys. You guys are very good.
Save that for the podcast. You have to save that for the show.
You're a sweetie. Thank you.
We need that, but thank you.
It's good.
Yeah. Well, that's how we're getting our fan base. One every guest, and that's
at a time.
Yeah, at a time.
One guest.
So far, we have 4 listeners.